Hey, what's up, guys? Node Investor here. Thanks for being here today, guys. Last minute live stream. Of course, we're talking news, we're talking ETF denial. Hold on, let me close that out. Sorry about that. And so just wanted to get with everybody here. Check out the charts. I posted a video earlier today talking about this. Of course, everybody was posting a video talking about this today. So there's a couple of things I'm looking at here. I had a couple of scenarios outlined in terms of how I would be doing my trading. I thought today was going to be a day off for me. I was thinking, well, gonna just take the rest of the day off and see what happens early tomorrow. And then the news came early, just as I was about to shut down and head to the gym. So here I am, live streaming with my crypto peeps. So I will be, I'm still kind of trading, got my trading windows open on my other screens. And so as I'm talking, there may be some radio silence. It's really hard to walk and chew gum at the same time. So I may pause briefly to post some updates and messages and whatnot and enter some trades. So right now, what we're looking at here, hold on. Speaking of which, all right. Sorry about that. Okay, so looking at the charts here, this is the 5-minute view, very near term, very granular, but it's important just because of how quickly these markets have been moving right now. You've seen these wild moves up and down. So yesterday we saw this huge pump over the course of 10, you can call it 20 minutes, peak to peak. But I mean, we went from 6,400 and change up to almost 6,900 very quickly as BitMEX was down. I'm sure that wrecked a lot of shorts. And then it did nothing and just kind of sat tight here. And here today, we started to see some big sell-offs. Now, I'm not saying there's manipulation or insider trading or anything, but it makes you wonder who knew about the news coming out here. You saw some pretty big sell-offs. Shorts continue to pile up here. And so we'll look at that real quick. BTC shorts on Bitfinex. You can see they're still trickling up here higher. So things are very indecisive still. I was looking for a big move higher or lower. There was a couple of scenarios that I was playing out. So I was thinking, okay, we'll get the bear trap, spike lower, followed by a short squeeze move higher, or we'll get the bull trap, pop to the upside, followed by the sell-off, which would break support, trap some more bulls. But just kind of looking at the short interest at how high it's been, I was thinking, the bear trap short squeeze scenario is probably what I'm favoring here, just because everybody knew that, well, not new, but everybody expected that the ETF would be denied. That's exactly what happened. So it makes you wonder how much of that was already priced into the market, how much of that is, was built in this short accumulation here. And so there's some questions there. Yes, if it's official, there is. Let's go over to the, I know that I've seen a few articles going around here, but you can see SEC rejects 9 Bitcoin ETF proposals. Earlier, this article said 7. They rejected the 2 ProShare ones, the 5 Direxion ETFs, but apparently there was also the other ones in there too. So they rejected the ETFs. There's links here. There was a memo that was published with all of the details and stuff from the SEC. So if you're just joining us, yep, it was expected. It was now official, not really a big surprise there. And you can see here, we're just still very choppy, very volatile, and range bound here in the near term. And that's, I mean, as a trader, this is the most boring, choppy, ugly, don't want to trade this market. Like, this is the worst type of markets to be trading in as a trader. As an investor, long-term holder, of course, you're rooting for the bulls. You're wanting this to go through. You want to see some support being built here. You want to see some upside action. Absolutely, that's what we want to see. But at the end of the day, I want to see a trend, whether it's a clear break lower and we start trending lower again and testing new levels of support, or whether it's a clear break higher and we have a little bit of a rally. we just want to see a break, right? One way or the other, long or short. So that's what I was looking for here, and it's still very much in play. Looking at Ethereum, Ethereum was really rolling over earlier. It was looking very weak, absolutely the weaker of the bunch. Let me clear that. I was doing a short trade on that earlier. I did close that out just because it wasn't following through. And in fact, I'm liking Ethereum here now on the long side as a potential bounce if these things can get going again. But you can see on the 4-hour chart, just really rolling over, looking very weak, very ugly. On the daily chart, living below this 10 EMA, you can see it had a bounce here. And then today we had that big reversal. Now, keep in mind, this current daily candle will be closing within this hour. So at the top of the hour, this candle's done. And if it closed the way it looks now, that's absolutely a bearish looking candle. Big volume reversal off that moving average, a closed here near the lows. You would expect to see more downside from a close that looked like that. But we all know that there was some news, there was some sentiment kind of baked into that. On the 5-minute charts here, and I rarely trade off of 5-minute charts, to be honest with you. I'm usually a little bit more longer, 1 hour, 4-hour swing trades. But I'm looking at the 5-minute here today because of the volatility and just how quick some of these moves have been up and down. And you can see when the news came out, it came out here on this candle. You saw the initial reaction, a little bit of a dump. And then I had a short that was triggered there, went in. But then I saw the next candle just very quickly being bought up. I was not going to wait until my shorts or my stops got hit on that. I closed it out. I said, never mind. That's one of the scenarios I was expecting, a little bit of a bear trap fake out. And we're seeing that. And now you're seeing this little bit of a bull flag on the 5-minute and a little bit of more follow through here. So ETH is actually looking stronger here in the short run versus BTC. So on the long side, I'm favoring Ethereum here just because it's very oversold, very done to the downside near term. Could it go lower? Absolutely. But if this turns out to be a bounce and we set up a little bit of a nice double bottom, you can get a pretty good counter trend rally out of this. So a lot's going to depend on what happens here in the next couple of hours. Certainly, the market is still indecisive. You can tell on the 1-hour bars, it still hasn't decided which way it wants to go, one way or the other. The fact that we had this shakeout attempt the downside on high volume with the reversal is positive. That is good news for the bulls that you're seeing the defense coming in here as prices are trying to be sold off in light of the news, which normally would be negative, but it was kind of already baked into things. And so, I wasn't expecting this huge sell-off, but, let's be honest, it could have gone either way. Nobody knows what would have happened. You have to kind of play out both scenarios. And so I had a couple of different scenarios going one way or the other. Looks like some of you guys are going long here. What does ETF stand for? Good question. That stands for Exchange Traded Fund. Think of it as a proxy, an alternative way to get exposure to some asset class. So the reason people like it, it's a big deal, is because the traditional traders and investors accounts, so something like Interactive Brokers or Thinkorswim or your E-Trades type of accounts would suddenly have access to more Bitcoin exposure type of instruments. And so that's what Exchange Traded Funds stands for. There's an ETF for literally every asset class you can think of, sectors, the Qs, for example, the NASDAQ, tech sectors, housing sectors. So they're just a proxy that represent either a basket or of stocks or commodities or something. And so that's what an ETF stands for. And so, of course, with crypto gaining some more mainstream awareness, people are looking for ways to get exposure to it. So naturally, some of these companies that already offer ETFs in other arenas, in other sectors, in other places, they want to have an ETF for Bitcoin because it's lucrative for them. They get to charge fees and whatnot. So they want to set up an ETF for BTC. Do I have any trades open right now? I do. I'm playing it tight. I just opened up an Ethereum trade here. Like I said, I'm playing this tight. So I have my trading screens open on the other side. Got some things going there, but tight stops. I'm not giving these much wiggle room. And in fact, my trading positions are relatively small right now. until we break out a range here and decide which way it wants to go. For now, it's very rangeless, choppy market. Not the best to be trading in, to be honest with you. So let's see here. Looking at, so we talked ETH. We'll see how this daily bar closes. This 4-hour candle's trying to turn into a nice support hammer candle. We'll see if it goes. It's not going to take much more. I mean, to close above 272, we'll turn this guy green, and we'll see if that happens in the course of this live stream. Volume there is pretty high, so that's good news. Let's see here. Some other names. So that's ETH. On the downside, let's kind of cover that just because we were looking at the bearish scenarios here earlier. If this continues to break down, and let's be fair here, this is not a bullish looking chart. So, you know, you have a little bit of a double top on the weekly. That's very much in place. We've broken support below that already, below that 375. And so the next big support zone right now, just looking at the horizontal price points, it's going to be around that $200 mark. And then below that, around 150. Can you imagine that? $150 ETH. So those are the two levels. If this smackdown continues, how likely is that? I mean, when you think about the percentage size, I mean, $200 is 25% move to the downside. Absolutely in the realm of possibility with this market right now. And 150 would be another 40% to the downside. So don't want to see that happen, but is it likely? Is it possible? It's absolutely possible if this market continues to sell off. But, you know, you're figuring you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 red weeks in a row. You're due for a little bit of a bounce. You're kind of stretched to the downside. Things are oversold on so many technical levels. And plus the big short interest, it'd be nice to see a little bit of a short squeeze here and some upside action for a little bit. So, all right, let's see here. Going back to BTC. And an eye on my other screens here while we do this. Same story on BTC here. All things being equal, this was just not a pretty reversal bar on the daily, but you know, you have to discount it a little bit, knowing that there was some news kind of impending. But all things being equal, if I was just purely looking at the charts, I'd say that's an ugly bearish reversal. But we'll see where it goes. On the 1 hour, still below the 10 EMA. This last candle was a big indecision candle. We'll see which way it breaks in the next one. But, you know, this was just kind of swinging both ways. You can see how wide that was on that 1 hour candle. Went as low as 62.50, as high as 64.72. So the choppy volatility continues here. I know. Never thought we'd see those prices for ETH again. Yeah, this is it's been shocking for a lot of folks in terms of how low prices have gone. All right, let me look at some of these questions here. We'll look at a few charts. We'll take a look at some of the names here. For the most part, crypto trading, at least in the last week or so, has been far and few between in terms of any kind of good trades. Oh, let's see here. Do we have any trades open? We looked at that. Litecoin chart. Let's go take a look at Litecoin. You know, it's funny. Well, not funny. It's kind of it's kind of unfortunate is the word I want to say. Reading the comments, reading Twitter, just the saltiness that's out there, man. Like I know there's a lot of people out there just reeling still from this last couple of months of extreme bearish action. And I get it. You know, some of you guys have been seeing accounts and portfolios really take a hit. And it's kind of unfortunate to see it's more than a bearish tone. I mean, it's one thing to be bearish. That's fine, right? Bears, bulls, whatever. But it's just become this very depressing, this very angry sentiment. And it's like, man, you know, if it's bothering you that much, maybe you need to take a break from crypto or kind of step aside. You saw the articles yesterday coming out from New York Times, you know, people losing 90% of their savings and 90% of their money. And, you know, that's very unfortunate to see. But at the end of the day, You guys got to make your own decisions, your own investment and trading decisions. And can't blame YouTube, can't blame Twitter, can't blame CNBC. I'm still waiting for CNBC to come out with a sell crypto, sell everything. That'll be the bottom. This is their cue, man. They need to just do it already. Would you advise young traders to go back to stock rather than this very manipulated market? You know, that's a good question. If you're new to trading, crypto is going to probably be one of the hardest markets that you can start learning to trade in. But in a good way, if you can manage to maintain and you'll learn a lot faster doing crypto than you will in stocks or something like that. And there's a lot of different ways. So let me take a quick hiatus in terms, and I'll answer your question there, and we'll look at some of the other ones. There's different ways to trade, right? And it depends on your style and the time frame. If you want to do day trading, quick trading, you know, shorter term minutes, 1 minute chart, 5 minute charts like that, then the stock market is fine for that. And there's a daily session. Traditionally, you do that in the first half of the day when there's a lot of momentum and you can trade those momentum moves. I'll do that occasionally, but personally, that's just not my preference, right? Like, one, I'd have to get up earlier than I like. And so I don't want to do that. And then you're doing a lot of, you know, very quick in and outs moves, and that's fine, but you know, that's not for everybody. Then you can do options with that. You can do swing trading in the stock market too, a little bit slower than crypto. If you like crypto, but maybe you don't like the manipulation, or you don't like the maybe the young infrastructure, the tools, then I would recommend looking at Forex. Forex is kind of a nice segue. You're already familiar with currency pairs. The nice thing about Forex, it's very neutral from the long short perspective. You don't really care about long or short. You're going one way or the other. You're going long one pair and short the other. And that's very nice. You can trade patterns. It's mostly price action trading there. You're looking at, you know, just points of resistance and support and all that stuff. And so I'd look at that. If you're new, I would stay away from futures and probably options too until you can get the hang of just general trading, because there's a little bit more complexity there. And if you don't know what you're doing, especially in futures, you can lose everything very quickly. I mean, heck, you can lose everything very quickly in crypto, but in futures, probably faster. And so ultimately, you got to see what your style is. If you don't want to be watching the charts, you know, for 5 hours a day, watching every tick, then you probably want a market that will lend itself to maybe some more swing trading type of strategies, that sort of thing. So, okay, so back to this Litecoin chart. This one, let me go to Litecoin BTC because this has been really lagging here. Litecoin not on Bittrex. I don't remember the last. Do you guys still use Bittrex? I don't remember the last time I used Bittrex. They're just the liquidity there is not very good. So looking at this, this is versus BTC. So you can see how just weak it is versus Bitcoin, but it is attempting, and that's the key word there. It's just attempting to put in a little bit of a low. So maybe a little bit of a double bottom forming here on Litecoin BTC. Again, very washed out, but not any confirmation yet. You know, we still have just a pattern of lower lows. Right now, this is technically a higher low, but if you can break above this level on the BTC pair, then that would look positive and start to show some outperformance near term. Looking at it from the USD side, I mean, like most other alts from the USD pairs, they're just going to be taking their cues off of what BTC does from a directional basis. And so right now, if Bitcoin goes down, these guys go down. If Bitcoin goes up, they go up. That's just kind of been the story. And usually with a higher beta, meaning if Bitcoin goes down 5%, these guys are going to go down 8 to 10%. So that's just kind of been the nature of it. But looking at the LTC USD pair, again, it's technically a higher low being set on this daily chart. So now we got to see some follow through, some confirmation to the upside. Break above 61.72 or so would be very positive to start seeing that action here, and it would confirm that, hey, maybe we got a higher low being set and we're going to start trending with higher highs and higher lows. But until that happens, you just got to treat this as a little bit of a, you know, range bound symmetrical pattern, if you will. Nothing to do yet here on these guys until they break out of this range. Neo, man, who thought we'd ever see $16 Neo, $18 Neo? So it's had a mighty fall, like most names, right? What hasn't, off of the January highs? And here we are, same pattern. This is going to get repetitive. You'll look, there's a few names kind of bucking the trend, but for the most part, they've all got this very similar pattern. We had this big spike low on August 18th, then a little bit of a rally. Now, some names are rolling over and going lower than the lows here, but Neo trying to hold up right now, trying to put in a little bit of a higher low. Zooming into that 4-hour chart, you're seeing a potential reversal here. Some volume starting to come in here, so that's good news. This candle closes in half an hour. This is going to be also the end of the daily close. We'll see how that looks here. Right now, it's just a bounce into resistance. We got to see some more upside confirmation. Looking at Ripple. Sorry. Ripple BTC. Let me clear some of these old lines here. Oh, this is Ripple BTC on the 4-hour chart. You can see it's held up relatively well off of this low, right? We had that big spike low last week here, last Monday, and you can see it's pulled back like a lot of names, but still holding up relatively well in terms of how deep it's pulled back in. But if you look at Ripple USD, go to that on Bitfinex. Where are we at? Here we go. Ripple dollar. So far holding these little support levels here. Let me clear that here. I mean, technically you could say that's a little bit of a, it's just range bound. It's probably not even a descending triangle anymore because this high is technically higher. And so it's just kind of range bound, very choppy. Looking to break out of that box here one way or the other. Good support bar coming in here. That was a good attempt to sell it off here, but it's, it's in the middle of the range. I mean, just 2 cents lower and that turns red. All right, let me go back to Bitcoin here, and I'll do Ethereum. I'm going to keep this stream relatively short, so I'll probably wrap it up here in about another 15, 20 minutes. Wanted to pull up the charts here, go live real time, following that news. So far, not a lot of real movement one way or the other. You can see this candle here on BTC. This is on Coinbase. That was the news break right there. That was the initial reaction. Quick sell-off, quick spike, and then now just kind of sitting tight, still below the shorter term moving average on the 30 minutes, still below the 10 EMA on the 1 hour. So hasn't confirmed to the upside yet, and certainly is still below on the 4 hour. You can see the spike here. That's basically where it ended, was on that 4 hour chart to the upside. So watching the shorter term time frames here, seeing if we can get some more follow through. You had that initial sell off, quickly reversed to the upside, and now it's just kind of coiling up, sitting tight here, range bound. So not a lot of direction yet, but my expectation is it will start to signal here one way or the other, up or down in the near term, hopefully today. All right, let's keep going here. Let me scroll back on the comments here. I'm gonna catch up with some of these names. Yes, Ender, no doubt. If you can stomach this market, you can stomach everything. Very true. If you're feeling salty, just buy some salt. No, at least you guys got a sense of humor still. Earlier, we were having a good conversation about ramen on the Slack channel, and everybody's posting different pictures of ramen and talking about how we're just gonna all invest in ramen. So I'm gonna buy a crate, and if you guys need me to mail you some ramens, if you start going hungry, just let me know. Oh man, can you look at the RSI on the weekly? Yeah, that's a good point. So looking at the weekly charts, on the longer time frames, I tend to just worry about price action more than anything, as far indicators and all that stuff on the longer time frames. I don't use as much, to be honest with you, but RSI in the weekly is still holding about that 40 zone, right? Which is kind of, you guys know my RSI methodology. Stays above 40, things remain in the bull zone. Below 60, things can't seem to break out into the or when they're bearish, they can't seem to break above that 60, and it's kind of very narrow, very tight right now. So you can see on the RSI, still holding above that 40, but at the end of the day, you kind of just got to watch this price action. That's the most important thing here. And you can see it's clearly not been bullish, and still trending lower. All right, let's keep going. Let's take a look at some of these other ones here. Still got humor, but it's getting a little darker. I know. Oh, man. Sorry about the voice there. It's a little raspy still. Still getting over this whatever it is. All right. We'll look at VeChain. VeChain was setting up for a nice little ascending triangle yesterday. That kind of got messed up here with this recent action, and that was really the only trade I made yesterday. Was a little bit of a pop to the upside here. Took that quick trade. You can see it just rolled over today on that Bitcoin sell-off. It's trying to bounce here a little bit, but it's not looking particularly bullish just yet. I mean, most of these names aren't, to be honest with you. It's kind of just a waiting game right now. It's just sitting around and seeing what direction is going to move here. Obviously, if you believe this is a low and you're a long-term believer, then you start liking these low prices. But I'm preferring to wait for some, I'm preferring to wait for some more direction. Yeah, you remember said earlier that you wouldn't be trading anymore today. I did say that on my live stream earlier, but that was because I didn't expect the news to come out today. But it did. All right, let's keep going here. OMG, Quantum. I'm going to do some BTC pairs, see how those look here. So OMG on Binance, man, just not looking pretty. Just continues to make a series of lower lows, lower highs. I mean, if anything on OMG here, you're one, maybe positive. I wouldn't even call it that. That's a stretch to say this is positive, but a potential double bottom trying to form here on this daily charts, right? Slight bullish divergence on the RSI. But again, you're going to need some confirmation to the upside before you get anything near aggressive on stuff like this. Definitely worth watching, but this could as easily just continue lower and just totally negate this. So right now it's trying to make a little bit of a double bottom there. Quantum. Let me clear out all my markings here. So this is the 4-hour chart. Quantum did have that big move earlier off the lows, but then it went and formed this very ugly looking inverse head and shoulder pattern. This was the last trade that I was making last week before I called it a week and took off for the weekend, and was in this quantum trade very briefly, but coming back over the weekend had formed this little bit of a head and shoulder on this 4-hour, and you can see since then it's broken lower and it just kind of continues to drift lower. So I'd be waiting for this at least to get back above this moving average on the 4-hour before looking at it again. Again, the one positive here, maybe potentially forming a little bit of a double bottom, but you got to wait for some confirmation first. Link. Yeah, Link is still trending higher overall. Link continues to move off the lows, now up around 100+% from the exact low. If you look at it, 113% here at 1.130%. So has been one of the one of the few names that has really been moving higher in this very bearish market. Looking at Nano. Nano is also one of the ones that's moving higher. You can see the last few weeks, last couple of days here at least, still moving higher, making a series of higher lows and higher highs. So very positive to see that. So Nano, again, another one of the holdouts here, looking higher there. There was a few more here. I'm trying to think of what some of the other names were that were moving in this direction. I know Metaverse was one. Metaverse finally started to see a little bit of a pullback here, but still one of the names that has been bucking the trend here. Oh, Nano. Did we do? There was Nano. There was Null. There was what was the other one? Let me see here. I might have him on my list. We talked VeChain. We talked to Nano, Zill, maybe. IOTA was holding up earlier, but got smashed a little bit here. Icon seeing a little bit of reversal in this 4-hour candle. That's looking pretty good. Some good volumes coming in. A lot of bullish reversal type of action on the lows here in this most recent sell-off. So that's good to see. Ontology, another one I was watching here, some high volume coming in, trying to form a little bit of a reversal. Oh, Walton. That was the other one I had on mind. So Walton was the other one that was looking relatively strong compared to most names, moving higher, still making a series of higher highs and higher lows. So that's good. But other than that, it's been far and few between. Cardano. Yeah, Cardano, man. Cardano's getting smashed too. Looking at Cardano, it's undercutting last week's lows. So it's already moved below that, continues to sell off here. Just living below this moving average. Definitely one of the weaker looking names here right now. On this daily, RSI is back down to about 30 or so, 27 on that RSI. Cardano, what's Cardano tether look like? Remember that back up there? Yeah, it's not exactly looking pretty good there. Where's the ETF denied article? Can't find it. If you go to CoinDesk, they'll have it. I don't know if they link to the SEC 3 orders published. Yeah, here they go. They got them linked there. So these are the SEC orders there that were published. So that's where you can get the summary version. Venezuela is going crazy for Dash. Really? Dash doesn't reflect it. Man, Dash is getting smacked. Dash dollar. How's Dash dollar looking? I'll tether here. A little bit of a double bottom, but so many charts just have this look. Everything's dead. Crypto's dead. Ladies and gentlemen, it's official. Crypto's done. Oh, man. So let's go back to BTC and ETH. They're not seeming to do anything here. No follow through whatsoever, one way or other. So looking at Ethereum dollar here, you can see we had that rally attempt off the lows here near the this shakeout on the news is the 1-hour candle. So far, seeing some resistance here at the 10-period exponential moving average. Needs to close above that before things can at least start looking like they're turning the corner. BTC shorts still moving higher. Bitcoin shorts continue to pile in here. People are still shorting this guy. All right. How many of you guys are short? Come on, admit it. It's okay. You're amongst friends here. Bitcoin bounced right into that 10 EMA on this 30-minute, not seeming to close above it. The 1-hour couldn't really get back above it, so looking like it wants to roll over here a little bit on this 5-minute. Would you expect a massive dump after this news came out? You know, so that's what we were talking about earlier. That's the expectation was already that the ETFs would have been denied, and so the question was how much of that was baked into the price already. And when the ETF news came out, you saw the very quick, immediate reaction, followed by a very quick move to the upside. And since then, we've just kind of been sitting tight, right? And so I was expecting a sell-off, but I was also cautious about a bear trap, right? Thinking we'll sell off, trap some more shorts, and then prices will squeeze and go higher. But you also consider the upside, right? What if people bought into the upside and then prices just continue to drift lower? So not a lot of news or not a lot of movement here recently following that first initial reaction here. So it looks like it wants to sell off though. Right now, I mean, just all things being equal, factoring out news or anything like that, just looking at the charts look absolutely bearish, right? I mean, you look at the downward momentum, a little bit of a bounce, trying to attempt, and then you have this big reversal bar here today. So not factoring in the shorts and all that stuff, just purely technical, this does not look very good. Okay, let's see what else. Yeah, ProShares ETF is not physical delivery anyway. But still, even if it's not physical delivery, if somebody would have, if it would have came out as approved, that would have been a huge positive for the market. either way, I mean, even if it's not physical delivery, Bitcoin would have absolutely been surprised by that. Go out to the weekly. Yeah, we were looking at the weekly earlier. Let me go to another exchange that has more time here. The weekly is, it's just sitting right above support. So sitting right there, technically a big descending triangle there. But on the flip side, right, you could see a break to the upside here too. So still very narrow. Big scheme of things, right? We all look at the shorter term time frames, but you look at the big scheme, the big picture, it's like these last 2 weeks have just been this very narrow, choppy. All right. Let's do a few more, guys, and then we will go ahead and wrap it up. Trying to read these comments here. Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash. Isn't Bitcoin Cash potentially going to fork? Man, oh man. Does that mean it's like Satoshi's vision times 2? So looking at Bitcoin Cash here, this is BCH on the dollar pair. You can see this current 4-hour chart. It's trying to form a little bit of a double bottom here, see if we could bounce off of this low. Technically, it's a higher daily low on that daily chart, but again, like most, I'm repeating myself here again, not a lot of follow through yet to the upside, so not exactly a bullish chart either. In fact, it's bearish. It's not a bullish chart at all. Looking at BCH, BTC has just continued to underperform Bitcoin significantly here over the last couple of months. Is a measure of a descending triangle also valid? Technically, yes, but again, it's kind of a rule of thumb. And I think if you look at the BTC weekly descending triangle measurement, it puts you down at around 3K or 2K or something. And that's such a long ways down that there's just so many levels between now and there that would I personally hold out for the low to be hit? I wouldn't, right? So it just kind of depends on. I mean, this puts it down to to sub $1,000, right? So is it a valid measurement at that point? I would probably say no. It's a fork of a fork. Making you millions. Right. All right. Good times, guys. All right. Well, I think that's it, guys. I think we're going to go ahead and call it a stream. Appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate the likes. Appreciate the comments and the questions as always, guys. We'll see how this market does over the next 24 hours. Right now, not a lot of movement one way or the other. We saw that quick initial reaction, but all things being equal, Bitcoin's not looking particularly strong here. Looks like it wants to sell off, but I'm still mindful of that big short interest, waiting for another big short squeeze potentially. So keep it tight. Be careful if you are trading. It's very volatile and very range bound. Not exactly the best trading environment to be in. So appreciate you guys here. Till next time, take care, everyone.